Well, I have a sleepy cone cat on my baby, on my chest, I guess is what I was trying to say. Anyway, happy Wednesday. Today we begin with a quote from not necessarily a world scripture, but from a human being that I believe was enlightened, Mr. Shakespeare. He said, "All things be ready if our mind be so. All things are ready if our mind be so." That's from Henry V. It's such an important line. It's like we should emblazon it and engrave it on the doorposts of our mind. All things are ready if our mind be so, meaning any experience, any expression, any demonstration, any manifestation is available to us, is ready to come into our lives if our minds be so. All things are ready if our mind be so. And that came from the mind of somebody who understood human nature at the highest possible level and obviously demonstrated it in genius stories that he told. So this week we're talking about lessons and blessings and how we have our tests and our lessons until we learn the lesson, and then we gain that skill or aptitude or capacity, and then it's ours. We own it. Our minds are ready, and then the corresponding experience comes in. There's no experience that's going to come into our life if we're not ready for it. There's no experience that's going to come into our life if we're not prepared, if we're not accepting and allowing of it. We're not going to have abundance if we have scarcity consciousness. We're not going to be truly calm and peaceful if we have an agitated, fearful mind. We're not going to be healthy and strong if we have an attitude of sickness and disease and worry. All things be ready. So if we've made our minds ready to receive sickness or poverty or scarcity, then guess what we get? We get that. So today, very briefly, I'm going to talk about the stages of mastery. And it begins with you don't know what you don't know. And we might call it blissful ignorance. And it's the stage where it's called unconscious incompetence. Unconscious incompetence. We're bad at something and we don't even know it. We're blissfully ignorant. We're chugging along through life. We might think we know something, but we really don't. Or we might think we're ready for something. And this is the stage of life where many people build their lives on foundations of sand, not realizing what the most important thing is. And inevitably that gives way. And it gives way to the next step of mastery, which is conscious incompetence. We're really bad at something and now we know it. We're really bad at something and now we know it. It's a very humbling, humiliating, humbling phase of life where there's something we know that's important that we acquire, but we realize we don't know it yet. And this is where our egos get dinged up really bad. This is where we take a lot of broadsides to our ego and our sense of self, because we've discovered there's an aptitude or skill or capacity or function that we'd like to have. We'd like our minds to be ready, but it's not, and we're incompetent at it. So we have to go to work on learning it. We have to acquire the skill. We have to talk to the right people. We have to work our scales. We got to do the deal. And if we don't, then we'll remain in conscious incompetence, which is a very painful place to be. This is in respect to any aspect of life, whether it's acquiring a skill or an aptitude or a capacity or spiritual understanding or anything. Now, if we work through the phase of conscious incompetence, then we get to the phase what's called conscious competence. We begin to get better at something and we recognize it. We see that we're advancing in our capacity and our skill. And there can be a sense of momentum and gratitude and appreciation about this, but we don't want to let that get in the way of simply continuing the process. We're on the path. We know it. We've been at it long enough. We might recognize this in our own meditation. When we started, whenever we did, we were unconsciously incompetent about meditation. Something inside of us said, you know, I should learn that skill. There's something so important in being able to calm and to align my mind. And yet we've moved up to the scale of conscious incompetence. We start, but in technical terms, it kind of sucks. It doesn't go well. We're easily distracted. Cats bite you while you're delivering Dharma messages, et cetera, et cetera. So then in meditation, we become consciously competent. We do it a lot. We've gotten better at it over the years we've been doing at it, but we don't want to puff ourselves up or think that we know more than we do. We simply continue with our process of becoming consciously competent. And this leads to the delicious state of unconscious competence. Unconscious competence. This is the surfer off of Malibu that can run into the ocean with his surfboard and simply ride the waves and be in delicious flow state or alignment. And they don't have to think about it. It's the person who sits down at the piano and rips off a Mozart sonata without having to think about it. It's the person who has any skill or aptitude. It's the person with a certain degree of spiritual awakening that is a calm, peaceful, and competent soul radiating love to everyone around them. It doesn't require the thought anymore. So the stages are unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. These are the levels of mastery. And this is where we're at. And I know many of you, most of you, all of you listening, you have enormous competence in a lot of areas. That's, you're really good at the piano, you're really good at raising kids, you're really good at finance, you're really good at what you're good at. And that's wonderful that we've gone through those stages. This week, we're looking at what we need to learn. And if we're getting lessons over and over, or the tests over and over again, we're probably at conscious incompetence, where there's something we need to learn. And as Shakespeare said, if we get our minds ready, then all things be available to us. Until we're ready mentally, they're unavailable to us. This is as profound a spiritual message as could be delivered. It's not mine per se, just doing my best to channel it. Anyway, have a beautiful day. We'll riff on it tomorrow.